Last time, we talked about why we even need a government. It's all about maintaining order, providing services, and keeping us safe. Now, let's dive into the fascinating part, the different basic forms government takes around the world. Every country organizes power differently, and that difference determines everything from the laws you follow to the rights you have. To understand global history and current events, we first have to ask, who is holding the power? When you look at governments, the easiest way to classify them is by asking one simple question. Who has the authority to make the decisions? Is it a king? Is it a few military generals? Or is it millions of people casting ballots? The answer to that question immediately tells you what type of system you're dealing with. The difference between a country where one person makes all the rules and a country where every person has a voice is massive, and it affects every part of life. One of the oldest forms of government is the monarchy. In a monarchy, a king, queen, or emperor is the ruler. The defining feature is that the power is almost always hereditary, meaning it's passed down through the family line. It's like being born into a job where you automatically become the leader when your parent steps down or passes away. For thousands of years, this was the most common form of rule across human civilization. When we study monarchies, we have to separate them into two main types. The first is an absolute monarchy. In this system, the king or queen has unlimited power. Their word is law. There is no constitution or legal document that can check their decisions. Historically, kings claimed their power came from God, giving them ultimate authority. This is a form of unlimited government where citizens' rights are often limited to what the ruler allows. Today, most monarchies are constitutional monarchies. Think of Great Britain, which has a king, but the real power is held by an elected parliament. In this system, the monarch is the ceremonial head of state, a symbol of the country and its history. But they don't actually govern. Their power is strictly limited by the nation's constitution and laws. This is an important blend where a country keeps its royal heritage while operating as a democracy. The shift from powerful absolute monarchies to systems that involve the people is a major theme in world history. Over centuries, people demanded more rights and representation. They got tired of being told what to do by a king simply because he was born into the right family. Events like the American and French Revolutions marked huge movements where people rejected the king's absolute authority and sought to create systems where they had a say in their own governance. This led us straight to the concept of rule by the people. Democracy is the system most familiar to us. The word itself comes from ancient Greek. Demos means people, and kratos means rule. So, a democracy is literally rule by the people. The core belief here is that the people are sovereign. They are the ultimate source of authority. This idea is based on fundamental principles of human equality, meaning every citizen's voice should matter. The original form of democracy, which you can see in ancient Athens, was direct democracy. This meant that every eligible citizen voted on every single law and decision. Imagine if everyone in your town had to show up to a meeting every night to vote on every street repair, every new tax, and every school rule. For a small city-state, it worked. But for a huge country like the United States with hundreds of millions of people, it would be impossible to manage. Because direct democracy isn't practical for large modern nations, most use a representative democracy. Instead of voting on every law ourselves, we elect people, our representatives, to go to Washington, D.C., or our state capital, to make those laws for us. The representatives are supposed to study the issues, listen to the people who elected them, and vote based on what's best for the country and their area. If they don't do a good job, we can vote them out in the next election. A crucial idea in democracy is the balance between majority rule and minority rights. Majority rule means that once everyone has voted, the decision that gets the most votes wins. But true democracy requires more than that. It must also protect the rights of the minority, the people who voted for the other side. You don't get to take away a person's freedom of speech just because they're on the losing side. This protection is what keeps a democracy fair and just. The United States is often called a democracy, but it's more accurately defined as a republic. A republic is a type of representative government that has one key difference from many other democracies. It has no monarch. The head of state, our president, is elected, not hereditary. A republic is specifically focused on power resting with the people and their elected officials, often guided by a strong written constitution. It can be confusing, but here's the simplest way to think about the terms. Democracy is the broad idea of rule by the people. A republic is the structure, a specific form of representative democracy where the leader is an elected president, not a king. So, the U.S. is both. We are a representative democracy and a constitutional republic. Both terms emphasize that the power comes from the people. No good government, especially a republic or a constitutional monarchy, can exist without a constitution. Think of it as the ultimate rule book for the government itself. It's a written plan that spells out exactly what the government can do, and perhaps more importantly, what it cannot do. It defines the structure of power and, crucially, it guarantees the basic rights and freedoms of the citizens. It is the highest law in the land. The Constitution creates a limited government. This is a concept where the authority of the government is deliberately restricted. It's like giving your teacher a set of rules they have to follow too. The purpose of having limits is to make sure the government can't become tyrannical or abusive. Separation of powers, and a system of checks and balances, which we'll cover more later, are all ways of keeping the government in check. One of the most essential ingredients for a successful democracy or republic is having free and fair elections. The word free means that every eligible citizen has the right to vote without being harassed or threatened. The word fair means that all votes are counted accurately, and that candidates can campaign and compete on an equal playing field. If elections aren't free and fair, the government loses its legitimacy, because the people didn't truly choose their leaders. On the other side of the coin from organized government is anarchy, or the complete absence of a governing body. We touched on this last time. It's the worst-case scenario. When there's no government, there's no social order, no rule of law, and total chaos. Historically, societies that devolve into anarchy are unstable and rarely last long before a new, powerful group or person steps in to restore some kind of order. Another common form of government is a dictatorship. This is an example of an autocracy or rule by one person. A dictator usually takes power by force, like through a military coup, and then holds on to that power through force and fear. Unlike a king, their power isn't hereditary, it's taken. Dictatorships are a prime example of an unlimited government because the dictator is above the law, and there are no legal or constitutional limits on their authority. An even more extreme version is totalitarianism. The word total tells you everything you need to know. The government seeks to control every single aspect of public and private life. This includes where you work, what you read, what you can say, and even what music you listen to. Citizens in a totalitarian state have virtually no personal freedom. The government uses surveillance, censorship, and fear to maintain absolute total control over society. Every form of government has its own advantages and disadvantages. A monarchy or dictatorship being ruled by one, can make decisions very quickly, which is useful in a crisis. But you sacrifice freedom and fairness. A democracy or republic gives citizens the most freedom and protection of rights. But because so many people are involved in the process, decision-making can be very slow. It's a trade-off: speed and efficiency versus freedom and justice. The United States is a constitutional republic where the power ultimately belongs to you, the people. This means that to keep our government limited, fair, and just, every citizen has a role to play. By learning about these different forms of government, you're preparing to be a responsible citizen who understands the power of the vote and the importance of upholding the Constitution and the rule of law. That's how you protect the liberties that define our republic.